Welcome into this Wednesday edition of Palmetto Sports Daily. The Chanticleers with a huge win last night over second-ranked UNC. The Chants ranked 9th in the country. I would not be surprised if they went up a few spots, depending on what happens this weekend in next week's rankings. But the Chants, looking at the score for this one, they were down 2-0 at the end of the 5th, and then they just kind of exploded in that 6th and 7th inning. It was a 6-run inning in the 7th to make sure the Chants came out on top 12-2. It was a huge night for the Bats, and that's something that Kevin Schnall has talked about throughout the season, about how they've just struggled with offense continuously. They have not been able to find the solution to that, but it seems like last night they really were able to. And then I don't know if you guys saw, but UNC actually ended up canceling their game against Queens, which was supposed to happen, I believe, tonight because of inclement weather. So, you know, a lot of UNC fans and Coastal fans chatting about that huge loss for them, huge win for Coastal. So now the Chants will get ready to hit the road this weekend for their next series. But a huge night for the Chants. How about the Gamecocks, though? Not exactly the same scenario there.
Well, Tegan, you said huge night for the Bats. The Gamecocks kind of had the exact opposite problem in that regard. They really could not get their bats going at all. They were held hitless through 3 innings and then only totaled 3 hits altogether against the Citadel. So just a really poor night for them. They lose 4-0 to the Bulldogs, and it's their second loss to them this season, and it's the first back-to-back wins for the Cit since 2009 over the Gamecocks. So really impressive on their end, but just not what the Gamecocks wanted to see coming off a series win against Kentucky, and honestly not what you would expect, as they've been trying to pick up some momentum at this point in the season. And, you know, it just all goes back to the real inconsistencies of this season, something that hasn't been alleviated as we've moved into Monty Lee taking over the program for the rest of the regular season. And he said last night just wasn't their night.
You know, at the end of the day, we just didn't play well. You know, we didn't play well. We didn't do the little things that we needed to do in the ball game, you know, to help us win. Not to say that we would have, but we had some opportunities, you know, to score, just a couple of them, and we just didn't get the job done. And the Citadel played a really good baseball game. They did. They made us pay.
That is very true. The Citadel did play a very good baseball game. And Kevin, I want to hand it over to you. Just what do these 2 wins for the Bulldogs this season over South Carolina say about that program?
Yeah, it's all about confidence for the Cit, especially at this time of year. As you're wrapping up the regular season and they're getting ready to play in the Southern Conference tournament. They're right in the middle of the pack in the SoCon at this point. And getting 2 wins over an SEC team, even if it is South Carolina, a Gamecocks team that's down a little bit this year, that's going to be a big deal for them. You know, that's going to give them some confidence going into this last stretch of the season, and hopefully that'll carry over into the conference tournament. The thing for South Carolina, though, is, you know, we touch on this every now and then ever since Paul Maneri left, and that's Monty Lee's availability to get this job done, and if he's got a chance at taking this job full term. And at this point, Julia, what do you think Monty Lee has to do to keep his name in consideration to have this job full time? Because I can't imagine at this point there's really anything he could do to you know, still be warranted getting this job full time.
Yeah, that's the tough thing, because obviously the product's not there. You don't have the numbers, you don't have the tangible wins to show why he should get this job. Obviously, there's a lot of things that are different, I think, from a culture perspective, that he did, you know, allow this team to operate a little bit differently in this back half of the season. He's a lot more honest in press conferences. I've had discussions with people all the time when I have sound from Monty Lee in shows at night. They're like, wow, we never heard anything like that. The kind of honesty, accountability back from Maneri or even coaches in the past. But, you know, being transparent won't get you the job. So I don't exactly know where he stands in this, you know, kind of coaching race, but I know he's probably doing everything he can. It's just, it's a tough season across the board, and, you know, a couple more weekends to go, and we'll have to see what happens with that. But hey, Gamecocks softball gets a big win last night. They take the win over SC State 9-1, thanks to a grand slam by Tori Ensley in the second inning. Really great to watch this one yesterday afternoon as they closed out their home slate here. They now close out the regular season on the road at number 4 Alabama. Crimson Tide having a really strong season in the SEC and across the nation, so that will be a big test for the Gamecocks as they close out this regular season slate and kind of try and set themselves in position for the SEC tournament and hopefully another trip to the NCAA tournament in their second year under head coach Ashley Chastain-Woodard. So have to see how that goes. But hey, let's take it back to Myrtle Beach for a second. Tegan, we got some big news in the golf world.
Oh yeah, because we've got the One Flight Myrtle Beach Classic coming up for its third year right here in the Grand Strand, and we're starting to hear about some of those commitments. The biggest one this morning, Brooks Koepka committing to play in the Myrtle Beach Classic, a 5-time major champion that includes 2 U.S. Open wins, 3 PGA Championship wins. Of course, he joined LIV back in 2022, and then very recently, January 2026, came back to the PGA with a couple of caveats mixed in for that. He is not eligible for PGA Tour equity bonuses until 2030, and plus he agreed to make a $5 million donation to charity. But hey, he's looking for that blue jacket and that trophy this year, a trophy that's made locally by an artist out in Murrells Inlet, which is a really cool fun fact about it. But we've got Brooks playing, and then outside of him, we've got Harry Higgs, who was part of that 3-way playoff last year, ended up being the runner-up to Ryan Fox, who you're looking at right there. We've also got Webb Simpson, the 2012 U.S. Open winner, Danny Willett, the 2016 Masters Tournament winner, and then one of the cool ones that fans were a really big fan of the first year of the Myrtle Beach Classic was Blades Brown. He was 16 at the time. He's back this year. He's 18 years old, one of the youngest golfers out there involved with the tour, so a lot of people are really excited for him. And then Julia, another fun little thing about this is the queue, which are those YouTube golfers competing for a spot. The first video came out on the Brian Bros channel the other day, but the winner will come out in that second video, which is coming out on Thursday, so that's really fun.
You know, it's just such a different scene nowadays with golf. They're trying to incorporate people in different ways. I think, you know, how YouTube golf has taken off over the last couple of years. They want to get more eyes on the sport. I know there's a lot of traditionalists out there, but it truly has gotten more people involved. And it's been really interesting to see how this transition back to the PGA has gone for Brooks, because I know he's the first of what will ultimately be many. I don't think that we're not going to see anybody else come back over to the PGA. So interesting to see how this goes for him. I know those pictures of him down in Hilton Head just chilling, waiting to see if he would make the field. Those were really funny. But yeah, looking forward to seeing him play in Myrtle Beach. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We got women's basketball news waiting for us on the other side. Welcome back to Palmetto Sports Daily. We got some kind of late-breaking women's basketball news here today. The Gamecocks are adding yet another player from France. 6'1" guard Justine Lubens is joining the Gamecocks next season, and she joins Alicia Tournebes as the second French player on the roster. And this also gets the Gamecocks up to an expected 15 players on next season's roster. I know we're still waiting on an official confirmation of Ashlyn Watkins returning to the team, but with Lubens's, addition today, that will be what is expected to be 15 players next year. So really exciting. She was playing in France's premier women's pro league for the last 2 years, and she averaged 6.5 points, 2.5 rebounds, and 63.9% from the field in this past season. And she's played with Tournebes before on FIBA teams for France in 2024 and 2025. So exciting news as, this team just gets a little bit deeper, and, we'll talk about it in the off season, but we got to think about it just looking to the future. Will the team lose any games? Who knows? They might just make it all the way back to the tournament undefeated next year. And that brings up our next topic here. Obviously, some stuff coming out this week that the NCAA tournament on the men's and women's side will be expanding to 76 teams. I know we all have some opinions on this, so let's just get things going. Ella, I'll start with you.
All right. Well, where do I begin with this? I have some conflicting emotions when it comes to the news that we all received on our phones last night. I mean, I could go either way with it. Am I realistically thinking about it from the fact that am I still going to watch these additional games on my laptop, on my phone, and on my dual screen monitor? Absolutely. I'd be lying if I said that I'm not going to still watch every single one of these. And I would be a lot more upset with the situation if we were looking at a 1 seed versus an 18 seed. But we're just adding play-in games, which I think, to play the devil's advocate of everything that we're seeing on social media right now, that obviously we're not all super thrilled with it because it makes it a little less selective. I think that that is the only way that would be acceptable to do that, is if it's a play-in situation, which is, that's what it's going to be. So, Kevin, what do you think? I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the matter.
Yeah, I'm on board with this 100%. I don't understand why anyone wouldn't be on board with this. All we're getting is more basketball. Like, what is the problem here? We're going to get 4 more games on that Tuesday and Wednesday. Now, instead of just playing 2 games a night, they're going to be able to go 4 straight. They'll go, 1, 3, 7, and 9 o'clock games. Who would be against that? And Ella, like you said, as long as this isn't a 1 versus 18 seed and we're just doing playing games, then it's fantastic. And, I've heard people say this is going to dilute the tournament. How? How does this dilute the tournament? We've already got 68 teams. Realistically, how many go into the tournament with a chance to win a national championship? Maybe 10? Maybe 10? This past year, it was probably like 5 or 6. So you're already talking about 60-plus teams that are just essentially wasting our time because they can't win a national championship. What's 8 more going to do other than just give us a chance to watch more basketball, Tegan?
Yeah, Kevin, I don't think this dilutes it at all. If anything, I think it gives more potential to see more of those Cinderella stories, which are, of course, one of the best things of watching the tournament when it comes to it being March and just sitting down and watching all of those games. So I think this is really exciting. Again, more basketball. It can't be a bad thing. I would love to, find out more about these teams that the only time of year I hear about them is March. So I think it's super exciting, Julia.
All right, Kevin, let it be known the CBS station is fully on board, because how many sportscasts does that mean for you? Well, I will say, I'll say, I'm on board with it because I like the basketball element of it, seeing more games, yada, yada, yada. But I do not want to see any dilution of the product. And I do think over the past few years, we have seen, a stronger trend of these smaller teams being able to, pick up some speed and whatnot. But, it'll be a little tough because the only other thing I'm thinking is this is 76. How much bigger are we going to get from here? Because they're not going to stop. So at what point is too many teams? Because we went from, whatever it was before, and then we went to 68, and now we're going to 76. When does it end? Because I don't see it ending here.
No, it won't end. I would guess within the next 15 years, we'll probably be over 100. Because that's about a third of all the teams that play in college basketball will make the tournament. And if you go by most professional sports, even college sports, that's where you get teams making the postseason is about 1/3. The only thing I'm worried about with expanding this tournament is I'd like these playing games to be more of the Power 4 conferences going against each other. I don't want to see them take all the small schools and put them into these playing games and have them knock each other out before they just go and get crushed by Duke and UConn and someone like that in the first round. Make this, if we're just expanding this so the teams like Auburn last year can get in and teams that were more on the bubble for the big schools, let them go against each other in these first round playing games. And I think that would, first off, help the ratings more to see those bigger schools in there as opposed to just throwing smaller schools against each other. But it makes it more competitive.
You know who they should let into the tournament? The Ponca City ankle bracelets. All right, we got to take a break. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Palmetto Sports Daily. We move over to hockey, and the South Carolina Stingrays now 1 win away from advancing to the second round of the ECHL playoffs after picking up a dramatic 4-3 win in Atlanta against the Gladiators last night. And this one got crazy in the last 70 seconds of the game. South Carolina was on top 3-2. The Gladiators would tie things up with just over a minute to go, making it a 3-3 game. Stingrays came right back. Romain Rodzinski would score with 32 seconds left in regulation to put the Stingrays back on top 4-3. We thought that was it, but the Gladiators would actually score as time expired. Looked like we were heading to overtime, but the referees overruled it. They said it was an offsides. So because of that, the Stingrays get the win. They go up 3-1 in the series over the Gladiators and now have a chance to close things out in Game 5 at the North Charleston Coliseum coming up on Friday. After the game, head coach David Warsofsky talked about the grit his team showed again last night.
Obviously, you don't want to give up one late, but, just the resilience from our group all game long. I think, I wouldn't even say it was our best game, but to find a way to win in playoff hockey, that's what you have to do. Just a whole group of guys that are buying into winning hockey. And not that we haven't bought in all year, but, playoff hockey is different than the regular season. And
we have a great group of guys. Our bench is awesome. Everyone stays positive when stuff's not going right. Everyone's on the bench, positive, picking each other up. And like I said, we just have a great group of guys, and we just rally behind each other.
You saw DJ King there and kind of the battle scars he got from Game 4 last night. Took a puck to the face, got some stitches, came back, scored a goal in the game. Said, I asked him about it afterwards. I said, how's it feeling? He said it was starting to hurt. He said the adrenaline was coming down, but in the end, he says just playoff hockey. So that's what we've got. So as I said, the Stingrays, a chance to close out this series coming up on Friday in Game 5 over at the North Charleston Coliseum. Tegan, as we're talking hockey here, hypothetically, let's just say you were a huge fan of a hockey team and they had a chance to close out a first-round playoff series on Friday night and you were an hour and a half away. What would keep you from going to see that team possibly advance to the second round? I mean, can you think of anything that would keep you away if you love this team as much as some hypothetical producer says he might?
I don't know who would
Yeah. I think there's this producer named Producer Nick who might be in a similar predicament. But you know what? If it was me, I'm going to support my team. What happened if he didn't go and they lost? It would be his fault, right?
Right.
I've watched the past 2 games on TV. The past 2 games have been on TV, and I've watched them, and we're not.
Yeah. Anyways, so
the voice in the sky
he's
is
talking
complaining.
in our ear, trying to defend himself for the people out there, watching this who can't hear him. Anyways, hockey-wise here in the Grand Strand, well, out in the PD actually, the PD Ice Cats have the FPHL Rookie of the Year, number 13, Alexander Legkoff. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but he has got a big game coming up this week on Friday when the PD Ice Cats face off against the Binghamton Black Bears in the Federal Prospects Hockey League Finals, so it should be a really big night for them. They'll play the Saturday matchup out in Florence as well, and then those last games of the best-of-5 series will happen in good old Binghamton, New York, about an hour from my hometown, so kind of cool thing there. So really exciting time for hockey playoffs, and we will keep you all updated on how both the teams do. We'll also keep you updated on if producer Nick decides to go or not. Anyways, we're taking a quick break. We'll be back.
Welcome back into Palmetto Sports Daily. We're bringing you back to some baseball. Julia, someone from your neck of the woods was in my neck of the woods this past weekend. Jackie Bradley Jr., JBJ, made his return back to South Carolina. We would love to claim him here in the upstate, but although he was on the Drive, he never actually played a home game with the Greenville Drive, yet he is all over that concourse. They love him here in downtown Greenville. I got the opportunity to catch up with him and talk to him about being back in the upstate. I was walking around the concourse and I saw a Boston jersey, a Drive jersey, and a Gamecocks jersey, all with the last name of Bradley Jr. right on the back of there. So just a lot of support for him being back in town. Here's what he had to say about it.
Jesse Cole reached out to me maybe a couple days before the first draft and kind of gave me a lot of tidbits of things that could possibly factor. He said, there's maybe a lot of reasons why you might tell me no, but I'm of the mindset where there might be one reason you will tell me yes. And I think it's been able to be a unique opportunity to hopefully blend the game of baseball with not only the Negro League team coming back, not strictly just Negro League team, but the Indianapolis Clowns were the last team to disband in 1989. So being able to come back here, give homage to them, and be a part of something special is something that I thought was too big of an opportunity not, take advantage of.
Well, that was one of the reasons that he listed, but he went on to list quite a few more, including how incredible it is to goof around and be on the Clowns in front of his daughter. He says that she is a huge banana ball fan and absolutely loves coming out to watch him. And then heading over to some more pro baseball talk. An incredible moment for Brian Snitker getting inducted into the Atlanta Braves Hall of Fame just a few days ago. Unfortunately, it was not the iconic normal ceremony where they have it outside, but it was a wonderful ceremony inside. His son came and surprised him. Here he is on the moment and what it has meant to him to now be in the record books forever.
Feels really good to be in the presence of all those guys, those legendary Brave guys, and know that, going to be on that wall forever.
50 years in the game is really unbelievable, but then think about 50 years in one organization. I mean, that's something that's really special. And he was dedicated to the organization, to the players, and they were to him.
Well, his impact went far beyond just that World Series that they won back in 2021. I mean, he just said it there. He'd been there for 50 years. It's one thing to be in baseball for 50 years, but with one organization for that long, the impact that he had, the amount of people that he has reached over his time, it's only right for him to be on that wall with all those other incredible names there in the Atlanta Braves, Julia.
Yeah, I think about that 2021 Braves team often, World Series victory, how happy he was to bring that for the club. And, he didn't want to leave, but he was ready to pass it on to somebody else. And now he gets to still be a part of the organization forever. So I think that's really special, Kevin.
Yeah, deserved spot. Are you guys both from Canada? What's this organization stuff I keep hearing from you, everyone?
No,
nothing? All right. We're going to wrap it up here on Palmetto Sports Daily. We'll see you back here coming up on Thursday.